Welcome everybody. I'm Chris Bauman, co-founder of CashRent.com.
And I'm Brad Belser, co-founder of CashRent.com as well. Thank you all for joining us today.
That's exactly right. We want to thank everybody for being here. Glad to have everybody here to celebrate our big day. Today we're launching CommonGround, the one-stop shop for browsing land in the United States. It's a very exciting time as we rebrand CashRent to CommonGround. Our team has been hard at work to create a brand that we're proud to stand behind and proud to show everyone today.
Absolutely.
We're going to be bringing on guests from the farming and land community to share their stories of how CommonGround has helped them achieve their goals. We'll also be talking about what's in store for the future, walking through CommonGround and all of its features. Answering your questions at the end of this presentation, so please submit your questions in the chat and we'll round them up at the end. First and foremost, though, let's celebrate what brought us to this point, which is CashRent.com. So about 10 years ago, I bought my first hobby farm. It was, for the family, hunting, fishing, four-wheeling. And upon closing, I went out there and I quickly realized, oh, I've got farm ground. I'm in the farming business. So I wound up talking to the neighbor and I said, how does this work? He said, let's do a 50-50 relationship here. We'll split the costs, we'll split the profits. So me being none the wiser, I said, sure. Let's go for it. So over the next couple of years, 3-4 years, I was getting seed bills, fertilizer bills, getting calls, when should I sell my corn, when should I sell my beans? And I just realized, hey, I don't want to do this 50-50 anymore. So I approached my farmer and I said, let's just do a straight cash rental rate. And he shot me an offer, 150, 160 at the time, and I just said, that seems a little light, let me think about it. And me being a young entrepreneur, I was curious and wanted to know, hey, are there any sources for what my asset is truly worth? What should it rent for? So, got a GPS, went around the field, realized I had 2 more acres than what I thought I had, which was great. I pulled soil samples, got those run, started cross-referencing with University of Ag extensions and county rental rates and what the averages were. And, all this time and energy went into this, and I realized there's really no good data source for price discovery. And really, there had to be a better way. And, Brad and I have been involved in the land business for, 20 years. Brad's a land investment or a land broker by trade, and I've been involved in the real estate industry for about 14 years. So, we launched Cash Rent, and even after the few short years, we realized the tools we had built for land leasing could help simplify all land transactions. With that, we set to expand our offering into hunting leases and also conquer online sales auctions. And with that, we wanted our name to reflect the full scope of our ambitions. CommonGround, land available for everyone. Whatever their preferred method of transaction, finding common ground for farmers to expand, landowners to sell or lease, and also land professionals to provide them solutions for their clients. With that, I'd love to turn it over to my co-founder, Brad Belser.
Chris, thank you. Thanks again for everyone for joining us. But being a land broker in central Illinois and living in the heart of corn and soybean country, I see tons of farmers hungry to grow their operation. Cash Rent has helped them find more land to lease. CommonGround is going to do the same and ultimately be the hub for farmers to lease ground and also find properties that are available for sale. We've also got a slew of new features that we're excited to bring to you all, share some today. Our cash rental agreements are better than they ever have been. Digitally signed lease agreements that can be reviewed and signed anywhere at any time through the platform. Our consolidated mapping toolkit allows farmers as well as landowners and all users of CommonGround to download aerial and soil maps all from one centralized location. One of the things that we're most proud of in CommonGround and has always been that way with Cash Rent originally is that high bid doesn't win automatically on any of these leases. The farmers are able to create a farmer profile, and I would think of this as your resume, highlighting your farming practices to the landowners in order to create a professional connection from them to your specific bid. We really believe in sustainable farming and being good stewards of the soil, making sure that we always leave the tenant decision 100% up to the landowner. Some landowners choose their tenants for a multitude of different reasons. Maybe you're a landowner who really likes the idea of a young farmer being able to grow his operation and be run into a generational farmer down the road. Some folks like the fact that hey, this tenant farmer, he lives right up the road. So if I need him to check on the property, or he's in very convenient location there to do that. And the third, a lot of times, is just simply the experience that a specific tenant may have. They've been farming for 30 years. They're very established in the business. They're good at what they do. They've got good references. Just something to keep in mind. But ultimately, it's up to the landowner to choose the best farmer tenant for their farm. And don't take it 100% from me. We'd like to introduce and have you meet one of our farmer users who has used the platform to grow his operation. Randy Holliday is a multi-generational farmer who's been farming for 6 years out of Petersburg, Illinois with his family. It's ultimately Randy's progressive mindset and forward thinking that has helped him be able to farm full-time and accumulate thousands of grounds through the cash rent platform, soon to be CommonGround. Hey, Randy, thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Randy.
Yeah, as you guys introduced, my name is Randy Holliday. I am a fourth generational farmer from Menard County. I'm fourth generation, but really I'm second generation. In the late 90s, my dad left his dad's farm and split off on his own. And growing up, farming was the only thing I ever wanted to do. I'd skip homework to go farm, ride on a tractor, do whatever needed to be done. But due to my dad being a first generational farmer on his own at that point in time, I knew that I was going to have something else to do out of high school. We didn't have the acres to support two people. So I graduated high school and I took a full-time job at the local sheriff's department at night and farmed with my dad during the day. And I did that from 2019 all the way through 2020, fall and part of 2021. In the fall of 2021, I found cash rent, and they happen to have 3 good-sized farms for rent about 25 minutes down the road from my house. And I was like, well, this is the opportunity I've been looking for, to be able to get out of working full-time and go into farming full-time. So I talked to my dad. We ran the numbers. We went out there. We looked at the ground. We made some phone calls. Brad and Chris, they were able to answer all the questions I had. They were really easy to work with, real great to work with. And we ended up being the successful bidders on the auction. And 2 of the tracks we were the high bidder, but one of the tracks we were not the high bidder. So yeah, I mean, just because you're the high bidder doesn't always mean you're going to get chosen, like they said. And with that, I was able to quit working full time at the jail, and I was able to step into a role as a full time farmer. And that's just really been a life changer on the operation. I'm side by side with my dad every day. I don't have to worry about going to work at night or getting any sleep. And using this website, we've been able to tackle on about another 1,100 acres of land for our operation that without this, we would not have had the chance to. So I would like to thank Chris and Brad for having me on today.
No,
thank you.
Randy, thank you for joining us. So I know it's kind of a crapshoot trying to expand your operation as a tenant farmer. Tell us what you like best about the way that cash rent, soon to be CommonGround, operates for your uses.
Well, it's not all about your name. We've all been in that situation. This guy here, he farms everywhere. He's got the name. Everybody knows when his trucks roll through town who he is. This is, it goes off our bios that we put out there. They read it. It's not all just about, well, who's biggest, who's best.
So would you have been able to come back and farm full time if you didn't have the resource of cash rent at that time?
It would have been a long process, trying to rent land, which I was trying to do beforehand. But, over the course of 3 years, I've rented like 150 acres. So it's a very tight ball game to try to get into. So it was hard. And I would have had to wait for my dad to retire. And that'd been 25, 30 years from now.
Sure. No, and I know, from your and my conversations in the past, it sounds like, if there was another potential leasing platform out there that, as you described, is kind of a one-off bid. It's like a silent bidding process. Almost you submit your bid, and tell us why our platform and the system that we operate through for these leases on CommonGround ultimately is better for you, and why you prefer it over any other option that's out there.
Yeah, the auction style that you guys utilize, to me, is 10 times better for our operation than the one and done. You know, because it allows us to be more competitive, you know, because if, let's say the one and done, the ground's worth 300, you know, we bid 295. Well, some guy bids 301. Well, that's really close. You know, we're probably going to negotiate on, you know, $6 an acre difference. But one and done, you don't have that opportunity. With you guys, you have the opportunity to see, well, somebody's bidding 301. Do we want to go 305? And we have the opportunity to do that, where with other platforms, we don't have that opportunity.
Absolutely. Randy, thank you. Really, really appreciate you joining us. Continue to be a good user of the platform. It's great to see young farmers like you using CommonGround to grow their operation and be able to farm full time for you know, for the foreseeable long-term future, hopefully. Randy's story, guys, is one of thousands of farmers within the CommonGround ecosystem. Now let's talk about, Chris, what are we exactly doing for landowners? Let's cover that side of the platform.
Absolutely. I could talk about what we do for landowners all day long. But landowners, whether they're absentee or they live in the community, they're finding incredible value in CommonGround. One thing that I want to touch on is our proprietary cash rentstimate tool. It allows a true look at what rental rates and land values are in the area. Keeping on top of the trends allows the landowner to maintain a competitive rate for the area and not leave any money on the table. Our platform also allows the market to dictate fair value through the bidding system, just like Randy spoke about. The digital world opens the bidding to an entire network that may not have previously ever had an opportunity. What this results is more bids, higher quality tenants, and a better value for that landowner's assets. Another thing we love is there's no more handshake deals on your most valuable asset. There's no contracts to put in the mail. Our online contract feature allows electronic signature and confirmation for all parties involved in the transaction. From listing your property as a landowner to the signing of that digital contract, we keep you informed every single step of the way. You know, I could talk about what we want to do for landowners and what we have done for landowners all day, but I want everybody to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. We've got a CommonGround user here with us today, Ron Masters. He's from Central Illinois. He's used the platform a lot of times, had a lot of success. But Ron, I want to turn it over to you. And first off, thank you for being here. And just start off, you know, how did you hear about cash rent?
Thanks, Chris. I'd first heard about it because Brad is one of my broker, and Brad brought it up to me.
Excellent. So before cash rent came along, you know, how did you lease or would you have leased your land?
It was, as I was buying tracts, I would go with either the landowner or the farmer that had been leasing the ground, or I would start to ask around, and I did not have a good resource for trying to find someone to lease the ground.
And what kind of results did you see as far as, you know, increase in rental rates and increase in ROI from purchasing that farm and then putting it on the platform and putting it out for bid and getting a good quality tenant farmer? Did your ROI increase at all and increase the value of your asset?
Absolutely. The first farm that I used this platform, I just went back and looked yesterday, and we increased our return by 48% over the previous lease prior to when I bought the ground.
That's a big increase. And one of those farms you bought as a dual purpose farm. It was an investment as well as a hunting property. And I want to touch on this because it was critical for you to maximize both interests, both the investment side and the recreational hunting side. And did you find it easy to customize your agricultural lease agreement to meet the unique needs of both maximizing the hunting potential for that farm and maximizing the value of your agricultural leasing?
Absolutely. I found the first farmer I was dealing with seemed to have issues with how I wanted to divide up the farm in half, to put soybeans in half and beans and corn in the other half each year. They seemed a little frustrated by that. When I sat down with Brad and we began to write up I call it the auction letting on this, it was very easy to put in exactly what we expected as in terms of which area was to be planted which way each year. And after we did this and the the farmer came back. We had a successful bidder, came back this last year, and the results were phenomenal.
That is a huge benefit of landowners leasing their ground, and how they can customize whatever they need to in that lease agreement to fit their needs and maximize potential across all realms of that farm.
Absolutely.
So, Ron, I'm sure that 48% increase in ROI is going to benefit your children and grandchildren for decades to come. I greatly appreciate your time coming on and, you know, continuing to match landowners with high quality tenant farmers is what CommonGround, it's what we strive to do on a daily basis. So, you know, we've talked about the farmers, we've talked about the landowners. I want to kick it back to you, Brad, and maybe shed a little light on, you know, what can CommonGround do for land professionals?
Absolutely. Ron, thank you very much. So CommonGround just recently launched Ground OS, which is Ground Operating System, a platform for land professionals specifically. Ground OS makes use of a lot of tools that we've developed for land professionals to further expand the offering. And in Ground OS, we're including a CRM system, custom in-house mapping, leasing tools, auction capabilities for both leases as well as for sale properties, marketing templates and distribution of your listings across web and most definitely every social media platform, all combined into one single spot. Makes it very easy for the land professionals to use, saves time. But when we show brokers the power of Ground OS, honestly, the first thing that they say to us is, let's just get this straight, guys. You're offering us everything that, say, a land.com offers, plus all of these other tools at a fraction of the price. And we say, yeah, you know, that's what we're here to do. And we've got some of the best in the business here with us today. Don't take it directly from me. We've got two spectacular land brokers here, which are one, Chad Rembarger, who is he's the managing broker of Mossy Oak, Indiana Land and Lifestyle, as well as Don Wagner with the Land Guys, who have both implemented Ground OS into their organizations. Mossy Oak, Indiana, this is pretty neat, is the reigning champion of the Brokerage of the Year throughout all of the Mossy Oak franchises in the United States for 2 years running. And Chad said he's obviously going to utilize the tools through the Ground OS system this year. Chad, we're going for a three-peat, right?
Yes,
yeah,
I hope so.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, Chad, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Chad.
And could you tell us a little bit more about your brokerage and how your agents have embraced the Ground OS system?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that, you know, I've learned when I got into this business is that, you know, you get one chance with a potential seller to really impress them on, you know, how you're going to take care of them and your knowledge and what you're going to do for them as a client, and being able to utilize the tool, especially on farm ground for us. We use the cash rent estimate, you know, as we go into a sales call for the first time on the seller side, and then we use it again on the buyer side to show exactly how they can utilize that tool, you know, to make, you know, like the farmer or the landowner mentioned before, that it makes that property you just bought more valuable just by increasing the rent on your tillable ground from day one. Absolutely,
absolutely. And Chad, I know I really like this topic with you, inside of your organization, but we spoke countless times about one of your newest agents that's been very integrated into the Ground OS system. Could you shed some light on Andrew Epperson's success through the Ground OS platform that you've seen in your organization with him?
Yeah, you know, Andrew wanted to hit the ground running, and, you know, getting listings is the most difficult thing a young new agent, you know, can go through, is that process of getting that. Well, we were able to have a client that had some hunting ground down in southern Indiana, and Andrew went over and talked to the guy about, you know, listing that hunting ground to make that more valuable. The piece of property that he just bought, the guy was not a hunter. Andrew put that property up. He got literally thousands and thousands of contacts through not only the platform, but social media. And it kind of propelled Andrew over the next several weeks of not only getting more hunting leases from our current clients to actually getting listings from this. We had people calling saying, "Hey, I've been thinking about selling my property, and my gosh, we love what you did with the the social media aspect and the listing platform and everything that you guys did when you put this out there." So in a matter of literally, like, I think it was about 80 days, Andrew had got 10 new listings, and I think sold 8 of the 10 in that time period. He was able to completely, take off as an agent in by far the shortest amount of time that any of us that have been in the industry ever did. So, and Andrew's continued to use it on several occasions from his buyer side and his seller side.
I love this story about Andrew. And Chad, thank you so much. Mossy Oak, Indiana truly has embraced OS, and we appreciate you being with us today, and also all the feedback and thoughts that you've had as we continue to grow this.
Yeah, we thank you guys for everything you've done. I mean, the next step for us is obviously utilizing the auction platform and being able to take that step to where we can cancel the contract with Land Watch and move forward with you guys 100%.
Absolutely. Chad, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you guys.
Moving on to Don Wagner with the Land Guys, and the Land Guys is arguably the gold standard in land brokerages in the Midwest. They consistently provide incredible service and results for all their clients, and we're really very, very excited to have partnered with them and have guys like Don Wagner who's able to give us feedback and work through the Ground OS platform with. So,
hey guys, thanks for having me.
Oh,
thanks,
Don, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Don, tell me a little bit about how the Land Guys brokers have embraced Ground OS since we introduced this to you guys, months ago.
Well, we've been basically using every platform and mapping service that's out there. We've been spending a lot of extra money and a lot of time where Ground OS now has combined everything, and it's helped our agents stand out from the competition. Saves them a lot of time, gives them all the tools, helps them in valuing property and also increasing the ROI. Funny enough, we just closed a farm yesterday where they actually doubled their yearly income. And it's been that way, not to that extent, but it's been pretty darn close on every single transaction.
That forced appreciation, like we like to speak of a lot, when we see increases in those cash rental rates, it inherently increases the value of that property just the same.
Absolutely.
Would that be fair to say? Yeah. And Don, I know you guys had not previously been facilitating for sales auctions through your brokerage prior to using Ground OS. And are you, just, I guess, to touch on that a little bit, what is the feedback from your guys internally on the ability to have your own more or less in-house auction platform for both sales and leases?
No, it's been very exciting. We've been trying to break into that for years and just couldn't find the right avenue. And combined with all the tools Ground OS offers with the cash rent estimates, it's an ideal situation, and we're very excited to move forward.
No, Don, thank you so much. We're proud to partner with outstanding brokerages like yours and Chad's. We're also excited to bring on dozens more that we already have in the works over the next few months. So, Chris, we've heard from all sorts of different folks.
Farmers,
back to you here.
We've heard from the farmers, we've heard from the landowners, we've heard from land brokers. I think it's abundantly clear how CommonGround and Ground OS are truly changing the landscape of land. I know it's going to be an incredibly exciting 2023, and I am looking so forward to it. I want to thank everybody and also invite them. Everyone, if you could just go to commonground.io, check out all the latest and greatest features after the broadcast. That would be greatly appreciated. And I think now we're going to turn it over to some Q&A. Any questions that came in during the broadcast, Brad and I will be happy to answer. So. We might have touched on this. What's the average rent increase for a lease? So after, what is it, over the last 2 years?
Yep.
landowners have on average increased their rate of return on their farmland asset by 39.5%.
Some of which, in some cases, like these guys spoke, 100% increase.
Yeah,
like Don does, but across the board, on average, 40.
Okay, next question came in. Love the platform. Don't mean to offend, but do farmers hate you guys? We get that question a lot, and honestly, when Brad and I started this, we thought it was going to be pitchforks in our front lawns and all sorts of negative feedback. But what's been truly amazing to us is how the farming community has embraced this.
Yep.
Because I think what we found is the need for farmers to grow their operations. We talk about this all the time. If you're not growing your operation, it's dying at this stage of the game. So it was so hard to get the inside track on the coffee shop, or somebody passing away, or somebody selling a piece of ground. But this ability of ours to take a piece of ground and put it up for lease and market to all the growers, all the tenant farmers within a 60-mile radius, it gives them the opportunity that they would have never had. And just like Randy spoke, over 1,000 acres he's added to his operation and been able to go full time. So I think as these stories really, really get out there, and the farming community is going to, continuously choose to embrace us. So we're very excited about that.
And we've had multiple instances with farmers that, are continuing to want to accumulate more ground, but, maybe ground isn't coming up available in their area that they're comfortable traveling to farm. And so we've had now on multiple occasions tenant farmers who operate in a specific location, but they ended up finding a piece of property, hours away or in an adjoining state potentially, that they were able to purchase. They thought it was a good value for long-term sort of investment. They've come directly to us as farmers wanting to utilize our platform to find the right tenant for this new piece of property that they just purchased, where they're not familiar with the local farmers. Just like anybody else. So it's been really interesting to see that farmers have embraced it to that extent.
Yeah,
they're using the platform.
Using it.
Yeah,
so it's been great to see, and what we always like to say is, the Good Old Boy Network has now turned into an open, transparent, merit-based system, and we're just really excited about that aspect. So next question.
How many states have you facilitated contracts in?
We've facilitated leasing contracts in 10 states as of right now, but we have this capability all over the country. We've listed FarmGround in New York. We were actually one of the first digitally executed farm leases in the state of California, which was pretty cool. Primarily we're in the Corn Belt in the Midwest, leasing out corn, soybean, row crops. But it's really taken off, and to see a dot on the map in New York and a dot on the map in California, and just filling in those gaps, it's really exciting to see the expansion.
What do the lease contracts look like? Do I have to use CommonGround contractor, or can I use my own? That's a good question.
That is a great question. So just for the everyday landowner that wants to list their ground, we basically use a standard boilerplate cash rental agreement developed at the University of Illinois. It's kind of our bedrock contract. It's very straightforward. Same with our hunting lease contracts and insurance requirements. But when you list your farm, just like Ron Masters spoke to, you've got that boilerplate contract in there, but when you list any property up for lease, you can always add additional agreement terms, which makes it fully customizable, just like Ron did. So it's kind of not a one-size-fits-all. You can put in whatever you need. We encourage our users to put in additional contract terms, whether it's winning tenant farmer must maintain, mowing of ditches and waterways, whatever it might be, where Ron had, crop rotations due to hunting preferences. And then on the Ground OS side of things, we know all these brokerages have specific needs. So on the Ground OS side, they're going to have the ability to upload custom contracts that suit their brokerages and their business practices.
How do landowners get paid? Another good question, realistically.
Yes.
And maybe Chris, through this, discuss a little bit about the fact that it is free. It's a free resource to landowners.
It is a free resource to the landowner. So listing your property is completely free to you. The landowners get paid right now. It's still the old-fashioned way. There's a payment schedule in the contract. Check goes out on that payment schedule from the winning tenant to the landowner. This year, we're also going to be introducing in-platform lease payments. It's going to make it even easier for landowners to get paid. So we're really getting into managing that payment process to take even more stress and worry off the landowner. So excited about that.
Absolutely, very much so. What do we got with leasing going so well? Why would we start offering sales?
Listings. That was kind of asked of us. So, our partnering brokerages within Ground OS, they're a huge source of inventory for leasing side of our business, but they kept asking, when are you going to do sales? So we figured, hey, why not continue to build value for these brokerages? And yeah, we can market lease listings for hunting or agriculture, but let's take their current listings and all their new listings and let's market them as well for sales. And also let's take the auction platform for agricultural leasing, and we can take that auction platform all the way to actual auctions of sales, which it's been really hard for these brokerages. There's auction platforms out there. You as a land broker have used them, and I know you got discouraged because you'd put a piece of ground up for auction and it'd be lost in a sea of maybe grandma's watch or a bulldozer or what, they weren't land specific auction sites, and that's truly what we are doing. And we always joke, it's the Ground OS side of the house is built by land brokers for land brokers. So hearing all their feedback, it's great, and we work with our partners such as Don and Chad, and really excited about it.
Yep. What do we got here?
Any more questions coming in?
What if I like my farmer but want to see what market rates are?
That's where the cash rent estimate tool comes in. Basically, there's no obligation. If you're a landowner out there and you're in a current agreement with your farmer, go educate yourself. Use our price discovery tool. You go to CommonGround.io, click Get a Cash Rent Estimate. Basically, it's just going to ask you to select your parcel. A few easy steps. I mean, it probably takes 2 or 3 minutes to do a cash rent estimate. It's completely free, but it's going to give you a snapshot, a benchmark of what your ground truly is worth, and it falls in a range. We give you a range to say, here you go, here's the low end, here's the high end, here's the mid-range. I would say 90% of the time, most of our agricultural lease auctions exceed the high end of that estimate, probably 80 to 90% of the time. But yeah, go educate yourself. I literally built the cash rent estimate tool with Brad because I spent a month in my spare time running around trying to figure out what my ground is worth, and I wanted to solve the problem to give landowners a very good, quick, easy, free resource to say, this is what my tillable asset is worth. So,
absolutely.
And then you can talk about it with your farmer. So that's completely up to you.
And we want the landowners to be able to utilize this this growing land broker network that we've got to let them offer some of their inside track on stuff as well. That if you're maybe not comfortable even running the cash rent estimate or understanding what a NCCPI number is or a CSR2 value for different soil types, state to state, feel free, reach out to us. We would love to connect you with one of our partnered land brokerages.
Reach out to us.
And
land brokers, one of us, we'll be happy to help in any way possible. So I think that is all the questions for now. And Brad, thank you.
Thank you guys.
A lot of excitement. Thank you to everybody out there as we celebrate the launch of CommonGround. It's been a long road, but we're very confident it's going to be a great year. We're going to send everyone an email that'll be sent out afterwards. It'll have information on how to reach out if you're interested in putting your land on CommonGround, or if you're a brokerage wanting to go down the path of implementing Ground OS for your business. So thank you, Brad. Thanks to everybody today, and greatly appreciate your time.
Thank you all.